Utterly ridiculous. Just when you thought football couldn't get any more stupid. Vote of no confidence passed at Barcelona. Giroud's record charge, English youngsters in some hot water. There's some bargains about and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I am your host, Matt Froelich, you are the OneFootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first off, and a vote of no confidence has been passed against Barcelona president Josep Bartomeu, and finally, his reign could be coming to an end. They needed more than 16,000 votes against the president, and it looks like of the 20,000 that were submitted, over 18,000 have been against him. Good news for Barcelona fans, but the end is not so close just yet. Basically, this now means they have between 10 and 20 days to put together a referendum which would see them officially vote against the president, have him kicked out and have a new one installed. They need more than 66%, that's 2/3, to make this happen. If it doesn't happen, and there's loads of talk about whether or not the referendum can actually take place because of COVID, then it's down to Bartomeu to kind of realise that everyone wants him out and resign without looking too ridiculous. The whole reason this is happening is because basically what's been happening at Barcelona the last few seasons and everything that's gone wrong can pretty much be put specifically down to him. Whether he's hired the wrong manager, he's let the wrong players go, or failed to back the manager in the transfer market, things just seem to be tumbling down, so much so that Lionel Messi, the greatest player in Barcelona's history, wanted to leave the club. I mean, surely someone's got to point some fingers somewhere, and they have all landed on the president. Things aren't good enough at the club, and it looks like the only way things are going to change is if he leaves. Who knows? If he does leave, Messi might stay. Others might see this as the start of a new era. They might be able to bring in another coach should Ronald Koeman not be successful this season. There's so many possibilities, and the future looks so bright if they can just get rid of this one man. Anyway, calm down, Barcelona fans. Calm down, Matt. You've got the Daily News to present. Next up, let's talk about some football on the pitch, and it's Olivier Giroud's charge to becoming an absolute French legend as if he wasn't one already. He scored 2 goals last night in their absolute smashing of Ukraine, 7-1, and it now means that Giroud is second on France's all-time top goal scorer list behind Thierry Henry. He scored 2 goals to take him over Michel Platini, and he's now just 9 goals behind Thierry Henry. This is pretty outstanding. If you compare their careers, Thierry Henry scored a lot more than Giroud, was a far better player than Giroud, won a lot more than Giroud, but even so, the guy just still manages to get into the French team and become such a pivotal part of it, despite the fact in the last few years he hasn't been a starter for Arsenal nor Chelsea. It's pretty impressive at this point, especially given the fact he's 33 years old. The likes of Mbappe, Griezmann, Ousmane Dembele, Pogba, Kante, the rest of the team are fantastic, are so young and fit, and he really doesn't fit the mould of an exciting talent, but still gets at the end of the crosses, on the end of the passes, and finds the back of the net. I've no doubt that within the next year or so, he will pass the record of Henry at 51 and become France's all-time top goal scorer, and he'll do it as favourites, potentially winners of Euro 2021. That's how I see it. France are so good. They're continuing on their good form from the 2018 World Cup, and at this point, I'm not really sure that too many teams can stop them. Having said that though, there were some impressive wins around the rest of the European fixtures last night, including Italy smashing Moldova 6-0, and as well as this, Mexico put in a pretty good performance to beat Netherlands 1-0. And lastly but not least, there was a 0-0 draw between Portugal and Spain, which was, well, it was just good to see this picture on Sergio Ramos' Twitter after the game. They may not play for the same club, but that historic trio of Pepe, Ramos and Cristiano Ronaldo won more than most players could ever dream of combined. So yeah, that's a pretty cool picture after all. So now to some English news where a couple of youngsters find themselves in hot water. It's Tammy Abraham, his Chelsea teammate Ben Chillwell and Jadon Sancho. They all attended Tammy Abraham's surprise 23rd birthday party, and now because of breaking COVID restrictions, have to isolate and won't be part of the team for the game against Wales tonight. I mean, 2 things here. Firstly, stupid from them. They should have known better. We're in such a delicate time in terms of people travelling around, at such a delicate moment where even as role models you can't be seen doing this stuff. It just looks ridiculous, and especially with all the nonsense that happened with Phil Foden and Mason Greenwood in last month's international games, they really should have known better just a few days before playing for England. Secondly, this shouldn't be a problem because they shouldn't be playing their damn games anyway. I mean, we're halfway through, not halfway through, I'd like to think we're halfway through, I'd like to think we're nearing the end, but we're not, of a global pandemic. Who thought it'd be a good idea to play so many international games, taking players from all over the world, bringing them together, and then playing them against other players who have also come from over the world? What a stupid idea. And on top of this, they're not even playing the normal 2 games that you would during an international break. For some reason, every team is also playing a friendly, which means absolutely nothing and just makes no sense. Utterly ridiculous. Just when you thought football couldn't get any more stupid. England are playing Wales tonight in a friendly. What is the need? What is the point to play a friendly? And you've got players from all over the world, and now some of them have flown in and some of them have got COVID protocol. Then you're going to find out that before the actually important games in the UEFA Nations League, a few players might test positive in the next few days, which means that they can't play in the UEFA Nations League game. Or who knows, too many test positive and we can't even play the UEFA Nation game at all. Utterly ridiculous to have this break, and stupid to put friendlies in it as well. Anyway, rant over, let's get back to some more football business and to some transfer business, because although the transfer window is shut, there are still some rather interesting free transfers knocking about. First off, Jack Wilshere, 28 years old, and he does have his injury problems in the past, but when he was released by West Ham a few days ago, he said that he was fit. He said it wasn't to do with injury worries, he just didn't really get the chance to play in the team. So if he's unfit, you could say, oh, he's got real quality, but he just needs to get fit. If he was fit and he's not being picked, that means he can't get into the West Ham team, and that says a lot more about his quality as a player than it does about his injury worries. Anyway, Rangers are the latest to be in talks with him, according to reports. And honestly, for quite a few Premier League sides, maybe towards the bottom of the division, he'd be a really good signing. I think that's a fantastic free transfer. Next up, Alexander Pato. Yes, we know that he was brilliant when he first burst onto the scene, and since then things haven't gone so well, but if a club can get him fit, they've got a phenomenal finisher on their hands. The same thing goes to 31-year-old Danny Sturridge, and the latest team that he played for, Trabzonspor in Turkey, have released him earlier in the year, and he's still without a club. There's been so much talk, mainly from the guy himself, saying that he could come back and do a job in the Premier League, and I think the same kind of thing with Wilshere. If they can get him fit, we've all seen what Danny Sturridge can do. He can definitely find the back of the net. He was doing it for the majority of his career and for England as well, and I think he'd be worth the risk. Certainly, I know it sounds a bit stupid at this stage, for a team who's maybe going to struggle for goals like Sheffield United would. Sheffield United had a brilliant season last year. Obviously, this season started horrendously with 4 losses out of 4, and so to try and combat this, to try and score some goals to get themselves back up the table, they've signed Ryan Brewster from Liverpool. I've no doubt he's a good youngster with some potential. He hasn't played a minute of Premier League football, and he costs like 26 million. I don't know what Sheffield United are thinking. Like, he's a good backup, don't get me wrong, but there is no way that a guy who hasn't played a minute of Premier League football can be relied upon to score the important goals in the clutch moments to drag your team out of a potential relegation fight. That seems kind of nuts to me, so maybe a more experienced professional, like Danny Sturridge, would be a really good idea. And if they wanted someone with even more experience, although I'm not sure Sheffield United would be able to pay his wages, is Mario Mandzukic. He was in the Middle East after being released from Juventus last season, now he's terminated his contract, and he's a free agent again. At 34 years old, honestly, this screams of a bit of an MLS China move, although he's already done the Qatar move for all the money, so maybe he's going to make a return to European football. Mandzukic, yes, he is 34, he may not have the fitness of what he did when he was younger, but having said that, his game doesn't exactly rely on all the speed and all the attributes you'd expect of a younger player. He's always been brilliant in the box, fantastic in the air, and had a brilliant work rate. Put that into any team, and that's kind of what you need from a striker. Of course, a fantastic eye for goal as well. And lastly, on these interesting free transfers, Nathaniel Clyne. Looks like he's going to rejoin Crystal Palace, the club that he came through at, and since being released from Liverpool, he has been training with the South London club. If he doesn't, a good signing for most Premier League sides, but yeah, I think he'll do pretty well at Crystal Palace. Anyway, moving on from those bargains, and there's a few more bits in the rest of the news roundup that you might have missed. And first off, Mesut Ozil has been left out of Arsenal's Europa League squad. I know it looks like he hasn't got a future at Arsenal, but this is really a kick in the balls. Like, if he's not good enough to play in the Premier League because they've got better players for the important games, I get it, fair enough. But if you're not giving him a chance to play on a Thursday night against some random team that obviously aren't very good, certainly not as good as Arsenal, that really must be a kick in the balls for Mesut, but it doesn't really look like he's arsed anymore. The same thing goes for Danny Rose at Tottenham, where Jose Mourinho apparently is updating his Premier League list, which needs to be handed in by the 25th of October. And Danny Rose will not be on it. Spurs, thanks to some good signs, are pretty stacked in the full-back positions with the likes of Orien Doherty at right back and more importantly, Davis and Reguilon at left back. So it looks like Rose is pretty much surplus to requirements. Alongside this, and Luka Modric is willing to take a pay cut to stay at Real Madrid. The 35-year-old obviously still thinks he's got a lot to offer, and why not? He's still a fantastic player. And lastly, but not least, Sergio Romero is considering a move to the MLS. Dean Henderson was brought back to challenge David De Gea for the number 1 spot at Manchester United, and Romero didn't get a proposed loan move to Everton on the final day of the transfer window, so maybe he'll be leaving for good. There you have it then. There was a rather long-winded daily news. You guys let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, though. You can also smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you guys are new around here, and check out loads of the other content we've got going on OneFootball by clicking here or here. That's all from me though, and until next time, I will see you guys later.